gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
Hey, what is happening? It is Gas Masks and Hand Grenades here with you. I'm your host, Jeff. And today I have a very special, cool interview for you guys with the rhythm section of the band Bedsore. How you doing, guys? This is Davide Itri and Giulio Remoli. Rimoli. Okay, sorry, man. I'm American. I can't do these complex names.
No worries.
Anyways, guys, thank you for being with us. David, you are the drummer, percussionist of the band.
Yep.
And Giulio, you are the bassist.
Yeah.
And you guys got a new album out. This is your second full-length album. The first album was called Hypnagogic Hallucinations on 20 Bucks Spin, I might add. That came out in July of 2020 and was really... I like a lot of 20 Bucks Spin bands. They pull in some really cool talent. And I'd never heard of you guys, and I can't remember exactly why. I think I just saw it, read the little bio piece on it, was like, man, this sounds like this could be up my alley here. And I grabbed the album, and it absolutely was one of my favorites of 2020. And then you guys did a split that came out, I believe, in 2022, right? Is that right?
Right.
And that was the Bedsore Mortal Incarnation, Japanese progressive technical death band. That came out in April 2022. Again, another killer album, almost a 20-minute track by you guys on that thing. 16 and a half, somewhere in that range. You guys like your long tracks. You definitely are influenced by the prog stuff. There's no doubt. We're going to get into that. But we got the new one here. This is the new one. And this is called Dreaming the Strife for Love. And you guys love long titles in your songs too, so I will be struggling with that all interview long. But I got the cool looking. Have you seen these?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's beautiful.
The orange brown ones, super cool looking.
Yeah.
That just came out this past Friday, I believe, correct?
Yes.
The 29th.
29.
Right. We're gonna dig into that album and some of the other catalog too here shortly, but I kind of wanted one of you or both of you to kind of go through. You guys were not on the original demo. The demo is help me out with their names.
Jacopo and Stefano.
And Stefan. Okay. And they are the guitarist and the singer, and then the keyboardist, and also another like separate. He plays guitar on a lot of tracks too. They were kind of the inception of the band, but can you tell me kind of a little bit of the history of the band as you know it at you, and then your inclusion and how you became involved with those two gentlemen? And whoever wants to talk first, go for it.
Okay.
Yes. I will start if Davide agrees.
No problem.
So in 2018, Jacopo and Stefano published the first demo, and it was recorded by them entirely. So even the bass lines and drums.
Okay.
The same two songs we will have been re-recorded in Hypnagogic Hallucination with another arrangement by me and Davide.
Okay.
So
how did you guys come to be involved with?
Basically they were Jacopo and Stefano were looking for to bring the demo stuff and other stuff live, so started looking for new members, and we knew each other for in the metal scene in Rome.
Okay.
So we got to rehearse together this new and old material, and started basically playing live. So between 2018 and 2019, we made some live as session members.
Yeah.
And then they asked us to join full-time the band. In the meanwhile, they were writing and we were all together already songwriting and arranging the stuff that will be published in Hypnagogic Hallucinations.
Okay.
And then we started as a full band.
Now you mentioned the Rome metal scene. Tell me a little bit about that in terms of is it a health? I mean, Italy's always been a hard rock metal, place. I mean, along with maybe France and the UK. I mean, it's a pretty healthy metal scene there. But tell me a little bit about from your perspectives. And if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to tell exactly, but you guys are. I'm a kind of an old dude. I'm almost 60 almost. So I've been doing this since I was like 15 when Kiss was my gateway band to hard rock. And I came up through the 70s and my favorite band is Rush. So it's like, I know all these, I was there early on, and it's just, of course, a graduation from the 70s bands, the King Crimsons, the Yeses, that kind of stuff, which is in my DNA, the prog stuff, to the thrash, to the Merciful Fate, to the Venom, to the Motorhead, it's just been a continual chasing of such. You guys are probably considerably younger than me. I'm going to guess you're in your 30s, maybe your mid.
Yes, we are all at the beginning of our 30s.
Okay, right. So you're young metalheads, kind of, sort of. And tell me a little bit about how you guys kind of entered into that scene. What were your gateway bands? How did you get into it? And then maybe what it's like in Rome as far as, the scene itself. Are there a lot of active concerts going on regularly? I would imagine a lot of big bands do come through there for sure to Rome. But tell me a little bit about that. David, let me let you chime in here a minute on that.
Yeah, so for what is about the Roman metal scene, let's say so, it's quite particular because sometimes you got big concerts, big festivals. For example, in summer we got Rock in Rome, that's quite good, quite big, and during the past years we could we could listen to some very good metal bands, but in other periods of the year it's quite a very static scene, let's say so. Sometimes it's even hard that you have a lot of people coming to your show, so it's a quite particular environment.
Okay.
So it depends on who you are, what you are playing, even what kind of metal you are playing, because probably the death metal, the extreme death metal and technical death metal scene is a little bit more populated, let's say so. You have more people coming. Yeah.
Okay.
The proggy side of metal is a little bit
touch and go, sort of not as popular, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like it has to be a little bit more intellectual, let's say so. And
right.
So people are always a little bit I wouldn't say not happy to come, but they have to think a little bit more about that,
Right. Well, it's a little bit more. I think progressive metal, generally, the one hallmark of progressive metal fans they're generally musicians themselves. They're usually guys that are either players and they understand the technicality of the music that you're writing. And you guys are writing some very intricate stuff, because it really is it's a weird mixture of styles you guys are playing. You guys are playing very 70s, especially on this new album in particular. But you could see it on the EP. You could see that transition was really happening. The first album, Hypnagogic, is much more classic death metal in its sort of vibes. The new album, far more 70s prog with the added weirdness. I say weirdness in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a good way. The added weirdness of this deathy, sort of deathy metal thing. I mean, this album is far less death metal than the first album. I'm just going to say that straight out. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have some really cool hallmarks of more extreme music. But the first one was a lot less 70s era. You know, I mean, you guys probably don't want to hear this, I'm sure, but you definitely hear the influence of this band there, I think, in the new album. Big time. And this is one of my favorite bands of all time. But it's on paper, you guys should not work. Like mixing this style and this style and this style. It should just be a mess, really. But it's not. It's fucking awesome, man. It's really good. And
Thank you.
I have to say, this album, I only got the promo maybe 3 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, yeah, I remember those guys. They did Hypnagogic, and I really dug that. And they did the split, which I have that as well. I just don't have them on me. And I dug them a lot. And I threw this on, and, you know, the album starts with about a 7-minute pretty much instrumental. It's like all instrumental, and you're like, well, that's ballsy. That takes some balls to do that. That's not what most people would ever do, you know, particularly not a death metal band. And the tones, all the guitar tones are not really death metal. They're far more progressive metal mixed with that 70s sort of thing. And certainly, of course, the keyboards are extremely 70s vibe. So tell me a little bit about maybe Giulio, maybe tell me a little bit about the progression of the writing from the demo to this point, how it's started to swing a little bit more into that. I think you guys are kind of calling yourselves 1970s death metal, which is, you know, obviously crazy because death metal didn't really start until 85, 87, somewhere in that range. So tell me a little bit about how that's kind of morphed with all of you guys participating. And I imagine, do you all help in the writing, or is it just specifically Jacopo and Stefan?
Yeah, we all take part to the songwriting and to the arrangement, and we all decide about tones, sounds, and so on. So we try to make everything work properly. This transition started basically right after the Hypnagogic Hallucination, because it was Jacopo and Stefano idea to blend death metal and prog, but in the first demo and Hypnagogic, it basically prevailed the death metal stuff because we weren't a full band,
right?
So we didn't know if it could have worked in some way, what could have been the live stuff, the live concerts, gigs, the show, because we try, of course, to bring everything we record on the stage. So we in the new lives you will find everything you find in the album, in the music.
Right. I saw real quick, just to interject, not to interrupt, but I actually watched somebody videotaped a show in France that you did in June, I think, somewhere in that range, June or July, I can't remember exactly.
It was May,
May, okay. And I was really surprised at how well you're able to bring the album sound to the stage. It's quite good. And it doesn't sound like you're using much as far as triggered backgrounds. Are you using any? It's all live.
All live.
Yeah, it's all live.
Yeah, cool.
We don't use click tracks like orchestrations from the PA and so on. We just use analog synths, and all is played live.
Yeah, it's really good. I was very surprised that, because this is a densely layered album. I mean, there's a lot of layers to it. But the thing is, it's not overwhelming, and by that sense, it's not something that you couldn't perform live. But I was kind of surprised that you do it with just 4 of you guys. I thought maybe you'd bring like another guitar player in, or maybe you'd have a little bit on a Mac floating in the background with the stuff like that. But it didn't. Yeah.
Yes, we are actually working on it. At the moment, we are considering to have a live lineup with six members.
Oh wow!
Instead of 4.
Yeah.
But we will see according to the show and the venue and the possibilities to do even a show with four pieces. As a 4-piece, yeah.
Do you have a lot of opportunities to play? Have they started to come in, or like how many shows have you done to this point?
At the moment, with the new album, we are getting some offers. We are evaluating some situations and so on. Of course, it's a demanding show, and also we have to match all the availabilities and so on, of course, as for every live band.
Sure.
In past, we made several shows. We did 2 European tours.
Oh wow!
One in 2022 with Cryptic Shift, and the other was last May with the show in France that you mentioned before.
Okay, hold on a sec. Did you say you went out with Cryptic Shift?
Yeah.
I love that band. I interviewed Xavier, cool guy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're about ready. And it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned them, because that is one band that I would kind of say the metal side of your sound is kind of aligned with, not quite as bombastically out there and spacey in the Voivod sort of direction. You guys don't really have a Voivod vibe like they do, but the more deathy parts of Bedsore remind me a lot of Cryptic Shift. I love Greetings from Enceladus, man. That album rips. Really good. And I think they're about ready. I think Xavier said they're recording a new one finally now, so the follow-up to it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I heard about that.
So how many shows did you play with Cryptic Shift?
With Cryptic Shift, they were like 2 weeks. So 14 15 shows. Yeah.
14,
all over Europe, like all over mainland Europe.
Main Europe, not UK.
Right.
But Central Europe and
cool.
Spain, Italy. It was
That's awesome.
Mainland
man.
Europe.
And I guess, we all know now, following the pandemic, and even before the pandemic, but certainly after that, touring is very expensive, man. And it's very, very grueling, even for young guys like you. I would never be able to do it now as an old dude. I'd be like, get me to my bed, man. I'm not sleeping in some van. But I mean, as a young cat, that's what you live for. You want to be on the road. You want to do these cool things.
Yeah.
How is it, like right now, comparatively, like, travel, gasoline, everything's far more expensive. You have to be able to at least go out there and not lose a lot of money, which is kind of the scary thing, right? So you have to make sure that your either guarantees are good or that you're going to make money.
Yes.
It's enough to put gas in the tank and feed yourself, right? And maybe hopefully sell some merch and walk home with a grand in your pocket or something. How does that factor into everything right now? I imagine it's pretty big.
Yeah, it's quite important. But we got Jacopo that deals with everything about this. It's very, very, very.
He's the business guy.
Precise. Yeah, he's the business guys, definitely. So he does all the maths before we leave, and usually it goes how he thinks, let's say so. So we are quite sure about his calculations, and we are quite sure about what he says and how we can behave about what to do and what not to do during the eventual tours. So, but obviously we have to be very careful about, for example, the deals we will accept, because we have to calculate the increasing expenses for the gasoline, obviously, and
Right.
for the highway taxes.
Okay.
They're quite high as well. And
Now, how's that work? Just out of curiosity, how's it work if you play, say, a show or two in France, and then you move over to Belgium or even Germany or whatever that you go to? Do you have to pay taxes? How's it work with the finances as far as the money you make? Are you supposed to pay taxes on them, but you kind of sneak out before you do that? I mean, you see what I'm getting at? Like, what, from country to country in the United States, if you're playing all throughout the United States, you're not being taxed on the money from state to state to state, right? I mean, it's all one country. But like, I'm wondering, like, how does that work for a band? And you don't have to give any secrets away, like you don't pay any taxes or anything like that. But I'm just curious, like, what it is like to travel from country to country, because you just brought up highway taxes. So like, that would be something you wouldn't have to pay here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we have European Union. So basically, in the countries of European Union, we don't have to pay taxes for merch and so on.
Is that Brexit? Is that Brexit or?
With Brexit, we have to pay something in UK if we go in UK.
Oh, it's just UK then. I see. Okay.
Just UK.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Switzerland.
Switzerland
is not
is the problem.
part of the
wait, where?
Union.
I'm sorry. Where did you say?
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Yeah, because they don't do anything anybody else does. They're kind of an island in the middle of everything, right?
So there is a big. There's a little trick to do, but it's not.
Yeah, I got you.
Not something that
not to be spoken out loud. Not to be spoken out loud. What are you guys catching the buzz that's going on about this album over there? Are you know what I mean by that? And the buzz meaning the talk, because there is a lot of, I think there's a fair bit of hype about this album starting to come out, especially online. A lot of people are talking about it online, which that helps to drive the written stuff, if there is some. A lot of great reviews out there on the internet. I mean, and interviews are just dudes like me that are music fanatics, that most of them. But I mean, there are the bigger ones like the Decibel stuff or the magazines, the Kerrang, stuff like that. But it seems like this album is catching a good bit of excitement around it. Are you guys aware of it?
Yeah, we had a lot of requests of interviews and stuff like that, and we are very, very happy about that, because obviously we got some attention with even with the Hypnagogic Hallucination, but nothing compared to this new album. So we are very, very, very happy about that, and we hope that it will go on like that, and we will be getting, let's say, a sort of transformation of this hype in even more live shows than the one that are confirmed actually. And but the most interesting stuff, I think, that is that even after the album was published, the people kept on listening, kept on asking for interviews and reviews, and it's still moving. The bus is still moving, let's say so. So we are very happy, and we are trying to push it as much as we can. So in fact, we are trying to organize everyone's calendars, let's say so, to do as many interviews and podcast or stuff like that we can, because when we want to do it, and we want to do it also because we want to thank you for the space you're giving us, for the possibility you're giving us. So it's very something we really appreciate. It's not an obvious stuff. So we are very, very, very thankful for this.
Oh, my
and
pleasure, man.
we don't want.
Yeah, I'm just glad you guys are, this is this could be a big moment. It feels like it could be a big moment for you guys just to maybe get a lot of traction to get to England, where you'll get more hype, you'll get more eyes on you. And certainly in the US. Now that's a tricky thing because it's a very expensive thing. You got to get visas, all that kind of stuff like that. And, you may have noticed we're not the smartest country when we make decisions about politicians. So we'll just stop there. But, things are going to get weirder, a lot weirder soon, sadly. But I think that, a real opportunity for you guys would be maybe like a Maryland Death Fest spot or a spot at a Milwaukee Metal Fest, or even a smaller, those are like the two biggies. But I could even see you guys playing like the prog Power. Do you guys know what that is? Have you heard of that? Down in Atlanta?
I don't know it, but
Yeah, it's
maybe
a prog metal specific fest. In other words, bands like Cynic and Amorphous and Fates Warning and those kind of bands that kind of a little bit are more centric to progressive metal versus maybe, but they do bring in some deathy stuff because obviously Amorphous has the death metal vocals. And so, I mean, that would be a great thing for you guys to if Glenn would get in touch with you guys. I know him. I'll send an email to him. Just say, hey, you should check these guys out for maybe next year. I think he's got this year 25 already wrapped up. He's doing like 2 years in advance, so it could be a little while. But that would be a great opportunity too, just to get you over here. And and $20, obviously $20 spin. How did you get involved with them? Do you know the story there?
Yes.
Basically,
it was just a try, because we recorded the Hypnagogic Hallucinations, and then we wrapped up all the labels that we would like to contact and to have have chances and be published. We shoot an email to Dave at $20 spin from their website for band submissions, and he right away answered interested and offered us to be published and to have a deal.
Cool,
so it
man.
was like a great of course we can't be thankful enough with him for his continuous support throughout these years, and also for this new album, for the split. But it was like a dream come true to shoot an email with the debut album with a project that has never seen light before, because we made a few shows in Italy, maybe one in Slovenia, and not anymore.
Just one.
And it was like crazy.
Yeah, it was like
cool. I mean, you have
like,
sorry, David, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So it was like, okay, guys, we're about to write an email to $20 spin, but don't think we are getting even an answer back,
Right.
And so it's just because I don't know, I feel like trying it. I want to write an email and see what it happens, but we'll see.
You never know if you don't try. That's the whole thing. So
exactly.
And the thing about $20, the cool thing about Dave's label is you've got a lot of bands that are in a similar vein. For example, Mold. Derek is a real dear friend of mine, really good friend of mine. And Mold has come from, the demo stages up through Manifestations, up through, this latest album. And, bands like Worm. Worm was just a bedroom project of Phantom Slaughter. Basically, he was doing that on Pro Tools at home or whatever, Logic or whatever. And then it became this thing that was released and caught fire. And then enter guys like Phil Tugas, who's a buddy of mine, Phil is the guitar player for Worm, also Cathealist and 9 million other bands out there. And, you know, suddenly Worm becomes this live thing. That was never really a plan, I don't think. I think it just evolved because of the popularity of the music and the demand for people that wanted to see him. Now, they have the benefit of being here in North America, which you guys don't. So they can do the US tour thing. And they had a tour planned, I believe, for December in Europe that got canceled, unfortunately. I'm not sure what the story was there, but so yeah, I mean, it's a great label for you guys. They have a great roster of bands. I mean, there's rarely a bad band that puts an album out on that label. It's pretty crazy at this point. These songs that are on the new album, are they relatively within the last 2 years they were written, or were there things that were held over from even earlier that kind of resurfaced and became part of the fabric of the songs, or are they pretty much all new compositions relatively?
It depends on the case, because we've got a sort of we got a drive where we have all sorts of stuff, riffs, ideas and stuff, grooves and stuff like that maybe will become something in a future or maybe not. So some of the songs are a sort of evolution from those riffs, those grooves, and the stuff that was inside the drive. Other stuff was written in the last year, during the last year, and this time I have to tell you that it has been a very very good composition process, because this time we succeeded in being all together, writing and proposing stuff. Because, for example, during Hypnagogic Hallucination, we did a sort of back and forth with digital files.
Right.
So it was only via computer, let's say so.
Right. Not in the same room. So actually, just carry on
at the end of the process, we met.
Carry on that thought. To carry on that thought, are a lot of these songs kind of jams that evolved? In other words, through rehearsals at all, or no?
Sometimes yes, because some of the, for example, I'm talking about drums. Some of the grooves or the interpretation I gave about some sections came out from live rehearsals, because at the beginning we met all together just to have an idea of how the other guys were imaging the songs, the parts, and we trying to match each other visions, so that we could blend in the best way possible the final product, let's say so. And after this first imaging of the album itself was composed, we start, for example, playing in my home. I have a sort of little studio where I can play drums. So the guys came over and started listening the songs with live drums, and we talked with each other even to set up stuff, to change not only grooves like I was telling you, but also we talked about sounds. In fact, in some parts we got we inserted some rototoms, because we needed a very specific sound. Even for example, when we entered the studio, we gave a lot of importance to the choice of the drumettes and of the snare, of the microphones, obviously, and of everything, every aspect of the drumming setup, let's say so. So this time we got a very pure mix of everything. I think we succeeded in blending everyone's ideas in the best way possible, because obviously there are some influence from 70s that are the main part the main influence from Jacopo and Stefano, but there are, for example, some grooves with odd times that come from me, for example, and all the groovy stuff and all the connection between the parts is from Giulio. So I think that we try to mix in the best way possible, and by living with each other the composition of this album. So it was not a digital process, let's say so.
Okay.
At least
Yeah,
not
yeah.
only in the very
Quite a
minor
bit more
part.
quite a bit more organic this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I think that's really important about this album, I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on this, is that there's a lot of space in here, which a lot of bands don't do anymore. They want to jam tons of shit in on top of each other. And I did say it's layered, and it is, but there's a lot of space where tracks are given room to sort of breathe. And, you know, whether it be a cool little 70s ELP, you know, synth line, like maybe like and a lot of Hammond. I hope if you like Hammond organ, you're gonna like this album a lot. And I love Hammond organ, so that's great. But that, like, some of the melodic lines in here, they breathe. They're not just shoved down your throat, coming at you a million miles an hour, which is not a death metal thing, right? That's a more of a early 70s prog thing than anything, or a Goblin. You know, we mentioned Goblin, you know, definitely a Goblin thing. You know, I mean, that's without question, space is important. Tell me your perceptions of that, Giulio. Tell me what you think of that.
Yeah, we worked a lot on this, both in the studio, so during the recordings, like drum recordings, but also and especially in mixing sessions. We had some mixing sessions with Lorenzo Stecconi, which is the engineer behind the album, and we worked a lot exactly on this concept that you mentioned, so on space. We widened the space to not make it too much metal and too much death metal oriented. And also in the mastering, of course, Magnus made an excellent work giving the correct dynamics on every song, on each song, and this whole process gave this impression. We, of course, like tried to find the sweet spot of every instrument in the space. That could be, of course, a little bit like a vintage style of perceiving the music. But
yeah, it's probably a subjective thing. I mean, you know, you're my perception of what might be busy and yours might be very different, obviously. But, like, for example, a song like Minerva's Obelisk, very measured, very, like, just spacious and sort of swirly and psychedelic and cool. And you're not expecting that. I wasn't expecting that at all. That leadoff track is pretty bold to go that way with the first track on the album, because, again, it's an almost 7-minute instrumental with a lot of dynamics that kind of build and build and build, and then you're just like, whoa, what the you almost have to go listen to it again, because you're like, did I hear what I think I heard there? That's what I kept thinking. And of course I was like, because I'm a 70s dude, this appealed to me a lot because I love bands like ELP and Crimson and Yes and Genesis and, you know, Rush and all that stuff. And it reminded me of those sounds, you know. It just had that real, and maybe even a little more obscure, like obscure English Canterbury stuff that has a little bit of a vibe in there too, that you just don't hear a death metal band doing that. So you guys are doing something very unique in that respect. There's no question, and that's should be applauded. You know, I mean, it really is, because there's 9 million cavernous death metal bands, of which I love a lot of them. But I also am like, oh, I've heard this like 18,000 times already this year. You're not gonna. I'm gonna tell you, anybody that's watching right now, you're not gonna hear another album that's quite like this album. I don't think it's very unique in that respect. I mean, take a song like, here we go with the long titles. I have to read it. I'm sorry. A Colossus, an Elephant, a Winged Horse, the Dragon Rendezvous. Okay. That's straight out of Dungeons and Dragons or something, right?
Yeah.
That's straight out of Prisoner of Zelda or something like that, right? And I'm an old man, so I don't even know these names. I'm just throwing them out there. My kid would be like, "Shut up, Dad! You don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, right, I know. But it's very Dungeons and Dragons-y title, obviously. But you listen to the song, and it's 13 minutes roughly, and it's just such a cool ride. It's like going on a roller coaster and shooting down, and you just have so many dimensions, and it should not work. That track really should not work. It just, the styles just shouldn't work, but it's probably my favorite song on the album. And it's so fucking cool, right?
Thank you.
When you're writing that, is that a song, for instance, that was very much developed in rehearsals, or did one of the other two guys that maybe wrote I don't know who wrote the main riffs and all that, maybe Jacopo or Stefano, but was it that long when it started, or did it just kind of grow and grow and grow into that?
No, it was a little bit like we made it in step by step. So it wasn't supposed to be like 12 minutes, but it ended like this. So because we basically started from drafts and then catch up with ideas, and in the end go with the flow of the song.
Right. Do you guys all have your own? David, you said you have a small studio. Do you all have your own like Pro Tools or Logic studio at home, like DAW and everything, that you throw ideas down and share back and forth before you get into the rehearsal studio, or no?
Jacopo is a sound guy, so has a professional studio.
Okay, so you do it all there then?
Yes. I have my own stuff, so I can do some home recordings too. So basically we are able to rehearse all together, going prepared, but studying and also elaborating stuff at home.
Do you all live near each other, relatively close, or you all in the same area? Okay. So you don't you can actually do rehearsals fairly easily then. You don't live in various parts of the country then.
No. We're quite near. 30-45 minutes by car, so it's quite easy.
Okay, so it's easily doable then. Yeah. We were talking about. I'll wrap up here shortly. But I had a couple quick ones. You talked about the metal scene in Italy and Rome in particular. Like, who are some bands that have come through in recent times, like that are on the metal or death metal sort of side of things that we would all know that have been fairly recent, say last 6 months or so? Anybody or nobody? Or like, have you gone to see any shows here recently, I guess is the question.
So
like for example, I get to see a lot. Okay, I was just down to see these guys twice. Last Saturday and Monday, Blood Incantation. Their new album's fucking amazing, man. And they're buddies of mine. I know Isaac pretty well. But like, I bet you I've seen Amorphous, I've seen Skeletal Remains, I've seen Emma Ruth Rundle, I've seen probably, honestly, in the last 2 months, I've probably seen 20 shows. Opeth, I saw twice, Tribulation. So and you got to keep in mind, I live in near Philadelphia and Baltimore and New York. I can get to any one of those places in about 3.5 hours drive. So it's kind of easy for me to catch a lot of shows. I gather it's not quite that way over there for you guys, maybe?
It depends once again, because and this part of the and what I will say now, it's a sort of prosecution of the things I said at the beginning.
Okay.
Because the great tours the great concerts mainly stops in Milan, so we have to do something like 6 hours
Oh wow.
of cars.
Yeah. That's a long
It
ass
depends.
drive.
Yeah, so it sometimes it is a little bit let's say hard or maybe expensive
Yeah.
stuff to go there and see a show. But and sometimes we don't have show at all, so it depends even on the tour, on the package, on what what the band thinks about playing in Italy.
Right.
Because sometimes it's possible to think that it's not worth it, maybe because of the different approach to the shows and stuff like that. But I have to say that in last summer, I didn't see, let's say so, Italian bands, but me and my girlfriend had the possibility to see a lot of bands, most of them from America, from the USA. So, for example, we listened to Slipknot and yeah, and come si chiamano gli altri? And Nothing More. We like them a lot. So
Okay.
the fact that is that we're not very into extreme death metal, and I think that is one of the reason, at least personally, I liked a lot the shift that Bedsore made from extreme death metal to some proggy stuff.
Right.
That also allows me to express what I like to listen to them in the music I listen to, and that allowed me to play with, let's say so, having a lot of fun, and not just because I have to play a certain part,
Right.
or I have to be careful of what I'm doing because I have to play a certain show or stuff like that. I
Yeah,
like doing
I should
this stuff.
interject. You're not going to hear a lot of blast beats on the new album. There's not a lot of blast beats on there, and that's
No.
okay. That's okay. The material doesn't need blast beats, and that's just fine.
Yeah.
But Giulio, have you caught any good shows here in the last year?
I mean, yes, but not metal related. Yeah, I'm not lately, especially in the last few years, due to my job and so on. I can't attend to many gigs, many concerts.
Right.
But when I can, I like to go for jazz concert, electronic music concert. So
Okay.
I used to be a metal guy, but
You've outgrown it. You've grown up. Not like this guy right
no,
here.
I mean, I still like listening to metal, and of course, for example, in my album of the year list, if if it makes sense.
Who was your favorite album?
No, I mean, there is surely some metal.
Oh, there are
but,
some metal bands. I got
there
you.
are some metal, some metal bands, but if I have to choose tomorrow to go to a metal gig or to a jazz gig, fusion gig,
You're gonna go the jazz
fusion
route.
one.
That's good. Hey man, I love Miles Davis, John Coltrane, all the biggies. I love electronic music. You mentioned electronic music. Have you heard the new album by Aranci Pazuzu?
Yeah, that was
It's all electronic, and
one
it's
of the best for this year at least.
So good. I love that album, man. So damn good. Of course, Opeth came out with a masterpiece. I mean, they're metal, but there are a lot more. That new album has a lot more jazz going on it than any of their albums before. But you talk about like one of my favorite, Aphex Twin, I'm sure. All the Warp artists, all the Warp Records artists are some of my absolute favorite music. Bola, Square Pusher, the drum and bass stuff. So, I mean, I look like a metal dude, and I am a metal dude to my bones deep, right? But I love so many other bands. I mean, my two favorite bands Rush is my favorite band of all time. And Marillion. You guys know Marillion? I'm a Marillion fanatic. So you know, I'm not just this long hair, creepy metal dude all the time. So, if you guys had to name your top 3 favorite bands, I know you hate this stuff. Everybody hates the list, but if you had to make instantaneous top 3 favorite bands, they don't have to be metal. They can be Oasis.
Okay.
They could be no, they don't have to be metal. They could be Oasis. They could be David Gilmour, Pink Floyd, whatever. You know, give me your top 3 favorite bands, David, and then we'll wrap up, guys.
Okay, so I won't go for that for metal stuff. You know,
You don't
I'm
have to. That's
quite
fine.
out of the scene, but I think I'll go first one. The Darkness, that I saw them
Cool
live a few months ago.
Great band.
They did a nice comeback to it in Italy, and they played just very near my home, so it was the perfect concert. I just walked out my door, and I was there. So
Cool.
that was
Yeah,
fantastic.
those are always nice, right?
Yeah. Then I think I'll go for Sting as a single. You know, a single because there are some incredible drum parts, and I'm studying them a lot. And the last one, I guess. The last one. Maybe I don't know. I have to think about it. Maybe Giulio can help me by saying
it's hard,
telling
right?
you.
It's hard, right?
Yeah. The third one is always.
And you know what happens is you
hardest.
say your top 3 favorite bands, and then after you get off here, you go, "Oh, damn it! I forgot about that band that I wanted to talk about."
Yeah, exactly.
You know, lists are made to be made and then broken right away. I mean, that's how it usually works. But you know, I mean, like if anybody comes up to me and says, "What's your top 5 favorite albums?" I'm always going to say Rush Hemispheres is my favorite album of all time. But after that, who knows? I might say, if you catch me one week, it's these 4, and the next week it's the other 4. Giulio, you have any favorite bands or artists or?
Yes, I mean, in not particular order, I'd say Aphex Twin.
Oh, cool.
Then Brad Meldau.
Who?
Brad Meldau, which is a piano player. Jazz from the US.
Okay.
And then maybe Radiohead.
Radiohead. There you go. Yeah. Radiohead's one of my favorites too. I mean, how can you not love Radiohead? They're amazing, right? Look, guys, hopefully you guys get some opportunities here to maybe get over to the States at some point in time and catch what it's like to be in America and tour around America. It's a big-ass country, man. Big-ass country. I mean, you can get in a car and drive for 3 days across this country. It's pretty insane, right?
Yeah.
But you go to the major, you know, cities, the first line cities, the New Yorks, the Bostons, the Atlantas, the Houstons, San Francisco, LA, that kind of stuff. You know, great music scenes, great live music scenes. The show that I was at for Blood Incantation in Philly the other night was sold out at 650 people. I've been in that club dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I've never seen it that full. I mean, you literally couldn't walk around to get to the bathroom. It was that full.
Nice.
And that was great for them. They probably should have played the next step up, but you know, there's that kind of club, which is where you guys would start, I'm sure, to the 3,000, like, you know, theater type things with like, that's places like where Queensryche would play or Wasp or some of those bands. And then you get into the bigger type, you know, shows like that. But, you know, it's getting more and more expensive for a guy like me that loves to go to a lot of concerts. It's like, I'm always like, all right, how much money do I have to budget for shows this month so I don't go hungry, you know, that kind of thing, you know? But listen, guys, everybody out there, I'm not lying to you. This album is going to be in my top 10 album of the years, and it just came out. It's going to definitely be in the top 10. I'll tell you right now, it's sitting at number 8, but it might move up. It's only got up to go. It's not going down. I know that for sure. This is a fantastic album. I did want to ask you about the artwork. What is the story behind the artwork? What is it? What's the meaning of it? And this, I believe a lot of these songs, or maybe the vibe of the album, was inspired by a book, right? You might want to mention that real quickly too, if you could. I don't. You say the title because I'm not going to mess it up.
Yeah. The album is a concept based on a Renaissance book, Italian Renaissance book, published in 1499 by Francesco Colonna, and the name is Hypnerotomachia Polifili, which is basically in English would be the battle in a dream, for the battle for love in a dream.
Oh wow, cool.
So it's basically this main character, which is Polifilo, that dreams to fight and meet dragons, winged horses, and all the creatures you see mentioned
Right. In the Colossus,
in
Right.
the track list. To reach his love, which is Polia, a girl, but is like an ideal love.
But he's dreaming it, right? He's dreaming this conquest.
Yes, he's
Okay.
dreaming
Right.
this stuff, and basically is an allegoric work. So everything is an allegory.
Right.
There is for example, the free will that is the Queen Eleuterillide in the realm of Eleuterillide. There is Polia, which is the love, but meant like cute feeling, but also like desire, lust.
Right. Sure.
This kind of stuff, and it's plenty of these references, of course.
Now, does the artwork play into that? Then is that the cover of the book, or
the artwork is made from Dennis Forkas, and it perfectly fitted the concept.
Okay.
But it was not made for this concept specifically.
So it was already done. It was already done before. Okay, so
yeah,
you
we wrote it later after the.
And here's the picture. I'm gonna blow this up real quick. Hold on. It's funny. All right, look at those fine-looking Italian gentlemen right there, dressed to the nines. They're heading out to the club. I love the double neck. That's awesome. The only guy in your band that looks like sort of like a metal dude, though, I'm going to be honest with you guys, is Stefano. He kind of has that sinister, sort of evil metal looking dude kind of vibe. But I mean, you guys all look like you're getting ready for college graduation here or something, right?
Yeah.
You guys definitely don't have the metal look, right? But that's no big deal, right? It's not a big deal. I think it's cool. I think that's what's so cool about your band is you guys are metal, but you're not really metal, and that's what's kind of cool about it, right? You know?
Yeah.
And you're getting a lot of fire from the metal community, which is, you know, fire meaning interest, you know, which I think is really awesome. So, yeah, man, this album kicks ass. I love this album. I think you guys have. I love both the other. I love the split and the first album a lot, though. I like them very much. I can't remember. I don't think I did a top. I only started doing a top thing on my show last year, so I didn't do a top. But Hypnagogic would have definitely been way high up the list there. So you guys are a band that's super interesting. There's just a dynamic to what you're doing that really nobody else is doing, and I think that's what's really cool about what you're doing.
Thank you.
So anyways, I will let you guys roll because it's getting later over your way there, and good luck with all your other interviews. I'm psyched for you guys. Hopefully, get a chance to speak again, maybe see you at a show.
Yeah.
And I would urge everybody, seriously, you can go check it out on YouTube or on their Bandcamp or on 20 Bucks Spins Bandcamp. All the links are in the description down below there for ordering the album. I don't know if there's other merch. Do you have shirts too?
We will have them soon, and also some other merch like patches and
Okay.
this kind of stuff.
Cool. So look for that stuff in the links below in the description there. And David and Giulio, I want to thank you much for your time tonight.
Thank you
And,
for having
so-
us.
Good luck on everything. And
Thank you.
again, it's a really, really awesome album that has interestingly a really good bit of staying power. It's the one out. I've been listening to it. I don't want to say daily because I have to listen to a whole bunch of other stuff for things I've got coming up, but it's the one album that's come out recently along with Tribulation's album that I keep going back to. There's a handful of 5 or 6 albums that I'm like, yeah, man, this shit rips, man. It's so good. And again, the prog influence, you know, for some people might put them off, but that's okay. I think it really is a calling card of the album that makes it sound very unique, that it's very different from what you're going to hear out there, because it is a mixing of styles that just shouldn't really work, especially with Jacopo. How do I say his name? Jacopo? Jacopo. Sorry. Jacopo's vocals, very unique vocals. They don't they sound like a cross between a death metal vocalist and a black metal vocalist.
Yeah.
And the nearest I could come up with is a band called Ghost Bath. Do you ever hear Ghost Bath?
No.
Okay.
I will check them out.
He's got a vibe like the Ghost Bath guys, only the Ghost Bath guys' vocals annoy the hell out of me. Jacopo's vocals don't. I like them because the guy in Ghost Bath kind of does this moaning, and then he does the scream.
Okay.
And it's like, okay. But the screams are similar. That's the part I really like. So I really like what he does. And it just shouldn't work, guys. It should not work. I'm just telling you that right now. It should not work. But it does. So go buy this album, everybody. You guys hang on for 1 second. Oh, I did have one comment here. You got to remember, we're in the middle of the workday over here in the States. So a lot of people will catch this interview after it happens. But my buddy here, I think Mr. Raccoon is over in Europe somewhere, I believe, maybe Paris. He says, "Hi, Jeff. Hope you're doing well." Not even going to try and say that. What is it? What is he saying there?
Buonasera ragazzi, grazie per il grande album sfornato quest'anno, chapeau, which means good evening guys, thanks for the great album of this year, chapeau.
There you go, man. There you go. So hopefully we'll get more comments in here and people will go out and buy the album. And congratulations, guys. It's really good. Congratulations to the other guys in the band.
Thank you very much again.
Yeah, man. So hang on 1 second. We're going to end this now.